we are the Digital Overlay team, and this week we will be getting executive interviews. And Anthony was fortunate enough to go to AP Hill, which we will touch on a little bit. And we made some significant advancements with our MVP. And our how might we question for this week is how might we gather the necessary feedback to inform our MVP.
We are interdisciplinary team. I'm Teresa Cummings. I am the writing major.
Mark Castro, engineering.
Elizabeth Processing.
Engineering as well.
And I'm Anthony, CIS. I'm Dalton, biology.
So this week, our kind of theme for the week is you have to see it for yourself. We've already had this huge question of context because it changes from mission to mission, commander to commander, even like from your intelligence officer to your operations guys. The context can change, but it's still a little bit similar. So we ranked more of our pains and gains for now. Lack of visualization is our biggest pain right now. How can we visualize it? How can we present it, the problem? How can we present the context? Our information overload is right underneath that for our pain. And then we have insufficient comprehension of difficult concepts, and that comes with communication and sharing information between two different sections or whatever, what have you. And then our gains have changed a little bit. We want to use more shapes and symbols. We think that will be beneficial. Cross-communication between set platforms, validation of intel, and less jargon, which is, again, more communication and more understanding.
Okay, so unfortunately, I was the only one able to make it to AP Hill Tuesday. I was able to go witness some of the emergent technologies coming out, such as the drones demoed by the Deep Clearance team. As well, I was able to talk to E-Company, which is responsible for the training, and kind of understand what they're going through now to get their troops and get their commanders ready for fighting in this digital battle space. As well, got to see some more into the perspective of how a military commander or intelligence officer will approach a situation to create a plan.
So our first hypothesis is our scope narrow enough? And through interviews, and we just determined that this is not true, we have multiple MPPs that pertain to two different types of beneficiaries. One to the Intel S2 officer, and one to more of a person in the field that a person in the field that could potentially use it on the technology that he has available.
And our second hypothesis is, are we going in the right direction? And so, like we said, Anthony's visit to AP Hill, he was able to take our Prezi and our MVP and actually get feedback in person based upon our MVP that we had, and talking with our mentor, and we believe that we are going in the right direction and approaching this from the right angles.
And then our third hypothesis is Farik, so how can we, what more can we do? What are some more options? And we want to see if we can put in augmented reality. How can that be implemented? And it's been accepted. We're looking into more possibilities, and we're hoping to show you more on that in the future.
So our beneficiaries have stayed the same. We're still looking at an intelligence analyst, our private sector companies, and our commanding officers. But we have updated our mission achievements. We are going to be able to tell if our MVP is successful if we can convey 70% and above accurate intelligence from intel to field operations, and also if we are able to decrease the prep time for briefings from the current 9-hour average.
Yeah, so elaborating more on that, in one interview that Anthony ran through on at AP Hill was this 9 hours of prep for a 45-minute briefing, and that's one area and pain that we want to kind of improve with our being able to visualize all of this information and hopefully speed up that preparation process.
So in our customer workflow and creating those kind of Intel products to lead up to a 9-hour preparation, which then leads to a 45-minute briefing, this is kind of like the customer workflow has stayed the same in creating that. And there's kind of two forms of where Intel products are that we've kind of identified. One is prior to kind of sharing the message from one, silo of Intel gathering to the next person who's going to use it, as well as the process of actually conveying it visually. Those are the two kind of silos that we've identified. So for this week, we wanted to get talking to a proof of concept generation expert. We wanted to generate different MVPs to get as much feedback as we can from all of the people that we've interviewed. We're going to send them out and hopefully get either golden nuggets from a little of them, or they could completely say this is terrible. But we'd love to get kind of a different variety of things tossed out and then get their opinions on.
All right, so our MVP was updated based on feedback. The social media presence section of it is the same, signal footprint's the same. This has changed to vulnerability notes, so specific things that a cyber personnel would know about a unit and might be relevant to the commander would go here. The biggest change, however, is the status bar. Whereas before there was just this kind of anamorphic bar that shows a level of compromisation, this actually shows what it means when you are, what it means that you've been compromised. So this signals that you've been compromised, but there's no known damage. This would signify that the enemy can see what you're seeing and hear what you're hearing. This would tell that the enemy has compromised your location through cyber channels. This one shows that the enemy has access to the data on your system, and this one shows that the enemy can shut off your communications or even spoof them. So now, what does this look like in the field? All right, so you're a battalion commander, and you're sent in to do a counterinsurgency operation around this lovely little town with one of the best colleges in the world. Bridgewater. So, from my military people, how does your position look? Professor Swain?
I got high ground on Mass Mountain, an infantry unit. I've got a tank unit on the north side of, northeast side of Harrisonburg. I've got an infantry unit guarding Overwatch over 81 and 11. I don't know why the guy's down there on the left side. The north side makes sense. And I only have 2 known enemy units.
So you're in good position, more or less, at least in the physical realm. So, as you can see, not all is well in the digital realm. For some reason, everyone's angry at your armored unit. These units all have some level of compromisation. From here, your intel people would be able to tell you they're mad at them because they put a tank through E-Hall. And from here, you might know to direct resources at hunting down, say, an enemy hacker, because it seems like this seems to be the area of compromisation.
But now, looking forward, let's try to take it to like the third dimension of, as you can see, with more symbols added, that on a piece of paper such as this one, you might get bogged down by that. So kind of, if you're able to kind of add the third dimension so that you could extrapolate the vulnerabilities that you have been kind of exposed in different, like in the digital realm. Want to go to the next one? So circles mean that there's a window of opportunity that you've been exposed on using simple shapes and colors. A circle, a color can indicate like what the level of compromisation that you have. A full disk that's closed off means that you're shielded. And let's say, things spiky, dangerous. This is where you've been compromised at this level. You have black, white, different colors varying in like what level of digital realm that you're being compromised in. And it's emanating from this enemy point. To kind of take that away from just adding another symbol on a flat piece of paper. Now just the use of a Samsung phone. We know if we were to stay in the phone realm, that the military is by next year switching to the iPhone 7, the 7 Plus, which is going to have a depth sensing camera, which would be something that we could potentially use as well for augmented reality.
Guys, your time is
Yep.
up.
Sorry.
Feedback.
So have you guys thought about using the actual Z-axis, like in the augmented reality? So like, essentially, instead of all those like little doodads, having, say, ones that are lower, kind of symbolizing the status, like whether you're compromised or not. So the higher they are up, so at a glance, you can tell, okay, this unit is obviously compromised because they're higher up on the Z-axis, and then you kind of delve down to look into the other information. So just kind of at a glance, instead of using this, which is, at least from my point of view, it's a little bit complicated. You just look at, okay, this one's higher up, which means that they're a priority we need to look at and deal with in the digital
The flip
realm.
side of that is, with this, I can pinpoint back on the ground exactly where the location. And if it's floating in air, I don't know where the
or above them, I probably should. So like they're hovering over where they are on the ground. So instead, like, so you know where they are, but then, you know, a little indicator is telling you pretty much.
You're talking about like each unit essentially not have a specific area, but like, so like the bottom one has a specific meaning, but instead of having the bottom one mean this layer, it means like this is low, and then the top is high.
So, yeah, so
Yeah, and it moves up and down based off of the percentage.
Like a total.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, so so when you like glance at it, you know, then you get this idea of, okay, the guys in this area, like when you showed the map, the 2D map, you can see, okay, well, all these guys are, you know, pretty well known in the digital world, so obviously, you know, it's kind of like easier to see than trying to remember what each one of those little icons mean.
Yeah. We also wanted to highlight that the fact that, like, especially within the cyber world, that can affect a lot of your other layers. So your soldiers, your tanks, for example. So by kind of having a symbol like this, that would kind of be indicated as a cyber attack. I can show it on here because it's not a video. We can animate that to move up and down or be at the center of one of your circles to show that's where you're vulnerable and that's where you're being attacked at, and that's the level that you're going to be affected at.
And I can tell you from a command and control perspective, I would rather have this than a generic one thing that I've got to judge whether it's higher or lower. The more detail I can see, like I would say this is like a right-click view, like right-click show details, and it would populate like this. I mean, this is what I can tell you. You would love to have this, and I would say like you could have fuel status, ammo status, all sorts of status bars that could be portrayed here that you couldn't do if it was just one bar icon.
You have to connect this to the previous MVP, where once you do click on one of those like kind of main silos, you'd be able to get the previous MVP, like the one in detail.
So these are all clickable?
No.
Would they be?
They could be.
Yes, they would.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the idea. Particularly if you're using the iPhone 7 where you've got the Force Touch.
Yeah.
Right, there's ways you can bring up contextual menus on phones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are not now, but.
You said 3D, it could be 4D too, right? You could show time.
Yeah, that was one. We talked to Christine from their team, and she showed us an amazing website called
Refugees.
Refuge.
It was a project on refugees and how they moved from 1970 to 2015.
Yeah, and the biggest insight was gained through adding time-based kind of being able to go from, I believe it was 1970s to now. And because of that, they're actually you're able to recognize patterns and kind of things come to life.
Well, hours is important here, not.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying the addition of time.
Yeah, time would be great to add.
Yeah.
Some dude's been hanging out there for 4 years. That's a movie.
All right, great job, guys. What?
Two, three.